So I want to get right into the video. I know a lot of you guys probably clicked on the link because it said sex. And I'm not going to disappoint you. We are going to talk about sex, but we're going to talk about the opposite sex. So for ladies, that means we're talking about men today. For the men, we'll talk about the women next week. And, everything kind of starts with the previous week or what happened in the previous week. So, this past week, I have kind of been, actually probably since the singles revival a couple weeks ago, I have been dealing with the issue of making another list. So before I go into all that, let me tell you that I have made 3 lists in my lifetime. And the first list I made was probably over 7 years ago, because I'll be 27 in August. So over 7 years ago, I made the first list. And the first list was for my perfect boyfriend. And I sat down, I made this list of everything that I thought my perfect boyfriend would have. And, you guys, I still wish I had this list, because I would say within a week, I actually met this guy who had everything on the perfect boyfriend list. And we actually dated for almost 2 years. I almost thought I was going to marry this guy. But fast forward to a couple years ago, I made the second list. Now, the second list was the real McCoy. This was the perfect husband list. And let me say, the list probably had almost 30 things on it. So I was very, very specific about what I wanted. Made the list, sealed it up, tucked it away. Now, the end of last year, I kind of was getting very frisky and kind of like, Lord, what's going on? I have not met this man. It's been 3 years. I made this list 3 years ago. Where is this man? So I pulled out the list, read it, and just got completely disgusted. I was just so upset. I haven't met this man. Where is he? What's going on? And completely shredded the list. Completely shredded it. Threw away. Didn't think no more of it. So sometime after that, I decided, okay, I had read this book, and it was kind of feeling like, okay, I can try this again. Some changes were happening, in my family, and I thought, well, I'll revisit making this list. And I wasn't as picky on this list. Wasn't as picky like I was on the other ones. But I made the list, and I would say I met someone relatively soon. And, as I started, getting to know this person more, I was thinking, wow, he has a lot of things on my list, but there was still a lot of things that were important that he didn't have. And I was kind of like, okay, he has some things, but he doesn't have some things. So kind of still on the fence, still very guarded. And, I began to pray, and, like I said, my family was going through some things, and started seeking God. And I think I may mention to this in one of my videos before. But, we went through a fast, and, God if this person is it, then this will carry on. And if this is not the person, then, this person will just be eliminated from my life, so to speak. And, like I said in previous videos, at the end of that fast, this person was no longer in my life. So that was the answer to that question, okay, this wasn't him. So once again, I shredded another list. I completely shredded the list. I'm sick of the list. I'm not doing it anymore. End of story. So here we are, July 2nd, and I'm showing you another list. I made another list. Now, I wasn't going to make the list. We hear so much, especially as women, that the men are married, the men are in jail, the men are gay, there is no men. And there are statistics that say that, I'm not sure of the exact stat because I didn't look at it, but in my mind, there are, 10 women to every 1 man, right? So I was kind of like, what's the purpose of making a list when he doesn't exist? He's in jail. He's already married. He's gay. So why am I making a list? And I actually was almost convinced. We went to that singles revival a couple of weeks ago, and when we got there, it was pouring down rain, pouring. So we sat in the car, and me and one of the ladies from my church were just talking, and as we're waiting for it to stop raining, we're just seeing women by the droves go into this church. No men. We seen maybe one guy go in there, and he was probably 17. So we're like, where are the men? This service is going to be filled with nothing but women. Where are the men? How are you going to go to a singles revival? And it's straight women. There are no men. You can't really meet and mingle when there's no men. So, we're kind of laughing. If I was attracted to women, I would be in the perfect place because it's buku women in here, but no men. So I was kind of like, Lord, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? There's nothing but women. There are no men. Why am I making a list? So, long story short, like I said, God's been dealing with, our family. We're going through some, huge changes, and just laid on my heart again to make a list. And I mean, women make lists more than men. I think men more so, they kind of know what they want in their mind, but they don't write it down. Women, we make lists. Some women have pages and pages of the qualities or attributes they want in a man. Um, like I said, I've condensed mine, so I'm doing better, and I think it's just over the years, things that mattered to me before don't matter to me now. I think that's probably part of why my list is shrinking. Because a couple years ago, I wanted a man that had muscular thighs. If you didn't have muscular thighs, I wasn't interested. That was on the list. I wanted him to have muscular thighs. But now, I mean, it doesn't mean I don't like the muscular thighs. It just means that it didn't make the list this time. So, anyways, I have this list, and I think the main thing for the list, for those of you who don't understand, the list for me is a way for me to create the man visually in my mind and to keep it before God's face. I have this list. And in John, I try not to be preachy. I tell y'all that. I try not to be preachy, but in John, it says, John 14:14, I believe, that God will give us the desires of our heart. And when I make this list and I keep it before God's face, this is my desire. And if he said he's going to give me the desires of my heart, then that's what he's going to do. He did not say, Dion, I will give you this man, but he has to have this. He's got to have this. He can't have that. He can't have this, but he's got to give he's got to do this, and then I'll give him to you. Whatever I desire, he's going to give me that. And that's what the list does for me. The list helps me to create this man in my mind, because that's what I did. I created him. I ordered him. I ordered him up, and I said, Lord, this is what I want. He has this. He has this. He looks like this. And this man, he's in my mind. I can see him. I can smell him because I know what I want him to smell like. I know what smell I love on a man. So he smells like that. His hair feels like this. I see all these things, and when I see this man on the street, if he walks into the church, if I see him at the mall, if I see him at the gas station, I'm going to know what he looks like because he's been in my mind and he's been in my heart because I made him. I created him. And I'm waiting for God to manifest him. So, as I want to encourage you guys every single week, for those of you guys who are looking, because there are some women who are okay single, they're content where they're at, but there are some women who are seeking God for the man in their life. And let me first say this, before you can expect God to deliver this man that you have ordered or created, first of all, you have to leave the man alone. If the guy doesn't belong to you, if he's married, leave him alone. That's number one. You got to leave some things alone to expect God to do other things. If I'm hanging on to a man who's already married, I can't expect God to bring me my man, my husband, if I'm already tiptoeing with yours. So that's number one. Number one, get the skeletons out of the closet. And God's been dealing with me, on that too. But anywho, get the skeletons out the closet. because he can't bring it if you already got it and it ain't yours. So that's number one. But if you are seeking God for the man in your life, the second thing after you get the skeletons out of your closet is to the second thing is to not put it at the forefront of your mind. And I think that was part of the problem for me over the years, because I was so not wanting to be single. I've been wanting to be married since I was 19. I did not want to be the single girl. And I put it so far in front of my mind that it consumed everything a lot of times. And it took the place of God. And I think that's something that matters the most. You don't want to be so consumed that you put it in front of God or in the place of God. And there is something that a young woman said on Facebook. I'm not going to say her name. Her initials are AT. She said that, in a nutshell, she was basically saying that God is the only person that can fulfill us. And I thank her for that reminder, because for a while I was expecting a man to fulfill me. And I now know that only God can do that. It took me a while to get to that place, but um, I have been through a lot of experiences, and I was expecting a man to fulfill me, but it's just not going to happen. Only God can do that. So even in writing this list and making this perfect man, he'll never be able to fulfill me the way God can fulfill me. And he'll be able to do some things that God can't do, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to fulfill me. And so if you are, and again, I'm always trying to encourage you guys, if you are expecting God and looking for the perfect husband, make your list, create it in your mind, keep it before God's face, get rid of the baggage. God can't bless you with no baggage, and that goes for me. I'm constantly working on it now, trying to get baggage and skeletons out of my closet so God can bless me with what I want. But expect him to do it. So I know you guys are laughing at the list, ha ha hee hee, but make your list. Next week we'll talk about the women for the men. That's probably going to be interesting, but I'm running out of time, so I want to cut it down. But I will talk to you guys next week, and hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend and be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.